All right, so today is a video about a response that I gave to a viewer who commented and told me about his experience with his narcissistic father and being homeless as a child, and then eventually going to live with his aunt and his cousins and not really feeling accepted, and then ultimately just questioning, by pure happenstance, this was his experience as a child. And he was robbed of a home and he was robbed of a family, and so he's left wondering, kind of like, why? What was this all for? And why did this happen? And what's the next step? And my response was this concept that is the foundation of this channel, foundation of Thriving in the Modern Age, and the cornerstone of my work, and what I have figured out and been proving is the concept of, from a great tragedy, you can have a greater triumph. And I was telling my wife about it this morning, and she mentioned a book that she read by Thich Nhat Hanh, and it's From the Mud Grows the Lotus. So it's a similar concept. But I had this realization that when you think about, everyone is experiencing these terrible traumatic events throughout their life, and it's inevitable. And the degree of how bad it is differs from each person. But what's interesting is these traumatic events generate a lot of energy. From an objective point of view, a lot of energy are generated by these events. And in my case, it generated so much energy and turmoil that it caused destruction in my life. I was pursuing a destructive way of life against myself and the people around me. And I realized that really it's real simple. Things are either destructive or they're constructive or they're building. And what I thought was, can we transform this terrible traumatic event that is a source of destruction in our lives? Can we transform that energy into something that is building in our lives? And yes, you can do that. And so what I've been trying to figure out and learn and write down and now share of this concept of, from a great tragedy, you can experience a great triumph, is transforming that destructive energy into a source of positive energy and inspiration for you to build your life. And so I've proved it to myself 2 times. The first time was breaking free from the narcissistic abuse that I was experiencing for so long, causing so much destruction in my life, learning about it, and then ultimately changing that path and that way of life to now of this life of building by meeting a woman, marrying her, and having a family. And now I have 2 children. I have a beautiful wife and 2 beautiful children. So now I'm in this completely different phase of my life of building and adding good and helping and contributing, to the betterment of society. And the source for this is the terrible traumatic events that I experienced, because those events are opportunities you have a different point of view. When you grow up in like a mundane, cookie cutter, white bread way of life, your point of view gets shaped, and your perspective on life, about yourself, other people, and the world around you, it's very cookie cutter. And I would say the majority of people experiencing life, that's going to be their life experience, and they kind of fall into this category of just bland people. And you know what, that is okay. And if that's how they live their lives and that's what they want out of life, that is completely okay. But when other people experience, these traumas, these tragedies, all these intense feelings and emotions that affects them, it completely changes their point of view. The way I see life and I see people, myself, and the world around me is completely different than how other people see it. And so this can be a gift because it's all about perspective and how you see life. And if you have a unique perspective, the way you see a problem that people are experiencing is it's unique to you. And it is possible to turn these traumatic events into a win. You can transform that and use that as a source of energy. Use it as a gift. It is possible. So, first I proved it by, changing my destructive behavior and turning it into positivity and now building a positive life for myself. The next way I proved it, and it's in the industry that I'm in. So I'm in this industry of forestry, and the big problem everyone is trying to solve is they want to reduce all the wildfires that are destroying the world. The forest is sick, and it's essentially destroying the world. Just where I live, multiple towns burnt down from destructive wildfire. So the big thing that I'm involved in is reducing the hazardous wildfire fuels in the forest, around people's homes and out in the forest. And the sheer scope and the magnitude of the work that needs to happen it's on this massive scale. You're talking millions of acres. It's like, you could throw $1 trillion at the problem and you probably wouldn't solve it. But I took on this problem 2 years ago, and this kind of standard mindset and approach to solving this problem is everyone thinks that science will solve this problem for them. There's a lot of people, and even people that I work with in the industry, that say, well, science will solve this problem. And yeah, maybe science will solve the problem, and maybe it won't. But I have a very unique perspective on life, and I have a very unique perspective when it comes to solving problems. And so I approach this problem in a completely different mindset than anyone has approached it before. And so what I did was, with very little resources, I have a couple pieces of equipment. It's just me, and the goal is to reduce the amount of hazardous wildfire fuel around people's homes and on their properties. How do you do that efficiently, safely, and in a cost-effective and timely manner? Those are the main things. So I set out to figure that out. And what I've learned from changing my life is nature is a great source of knowledge and wealth and inspiration. And if you can have a relationship with the natural world, there's so much you can learn from the natural world. And so I literally just took that approach. I go out when I'm literally working in the forest, and I set an intention of, I'm going to let the forest tell me what to do. And yeah, I know it sounds crazy, but that's exactly what I did. And so I let the forest guide me, and the forest doesn't speak to you directly. It's not a voice you hear in your mind, like, do this. The forest speaks through you. And so what'll happen is you'll be in the forest and you'll be doing something, whether you're walking or sitting or running or working. The forest it's like speaking through you, and then you'll just have an idea. And so that's exactly what happened. Boom, I had this idea, and I started to just test it, trial and error. And so it's been 2 years of me doing this, and what I've been able to accomplish is 100% effective. Just alone, I've cleared almost 300 acres by myself, which is a physical feat that people can't. When I talk to people about it, they don't understand how I did it. Even big industry companies with millions of dollars, and I've brought them to my job sites and shown them. They can't believe it. And because they're not in the mindset, and they're not thinking that maybe a different point of view will help solve this problem. And so, I proved it to myself by being able to execute, and now I've built myself up in the industry where, I'm reliable, solid, and I do good work. The problem is the industry is so fucking corrupt, man. There's millions of dollars at play here. The government is throwing hundreds of millions of dollars at this problem. And all the people involved, the majority of them, all they want is to make money. And so it's a common thing, the best person in the room gets looked over. And that's just what's happening to me. And it's okay, because, hopefully I'll get my time. And I'm kind of just sitting back, and I'm doing good work, and more business is coming in. And it's okay. It's keeping me and the family going. But yeah, it is super corrupt. Anyway, but it goes to show that these traumatic experiences can transform your point of view, and you can use it as a source of inspiration and energy. And that's what I draw upon, is trying to understand what I've experienced, and then using that as a source of knowledge and understanding and energy to transform it from being destructive to being constructive, to building. And it's working. And what you have to do is turn your attention and your focus and your imagination at a problem. Because people that have gone through these experiences and they've come out the other end, you didn't die, you're still alive. These people can change the world. A unique perspective will change the world. And it just takes one person with one idea to really have an impact on humanity and the world, and it could change the direction of the world forever. So, just a basic outline of this concept, so you can just grab onto it. And I'm researching and writing and getting into this deeper to eventually publish something in this regard. But it's really simple. It's very simple. It's really black and white. It's good, it's bad, it's destructive, it's constructive. It's these simple concepts that act as a point of navigation for yourself. And so you need a direction to go, and you need a way to navigate that direction. And you can do it with your intuition, and you can do it by focusing on key elements and components of human beings and the planet and just life in general. And so I just focused on my mind and my body and my spirit. And if you pursue enriching those for yourself and learning about how to do that, it's like these cookie crumbs on the path, and they lead you further down the path. And as you're doing this and pursuing, the betterment of your mind, the betterment of your health, and improving your spirit, you build energy, and you start to feel the shift. And then what happens is it begins to compound on itself, and then you find inspiration, and then people come into your life. Because if you're using the compass of your intuition of what's good and what's bad, and it's that simple, these narcissist people, you call it narcissism. They've labeled it narcissism, which kind of makes it it's just narcissism. But in all actuality, it's bad behavior. And if we just called it for what it is, it's bad people doing bad things. You can easily avert yourself from that, because using, the simple strategy of good and bad as a compass to guide you, you just go to the good and stay away from the bad. So I pushed out all that bad energy, all those bad people, all the destructive bad habits, and started focusing on the good. And as you do that, you feel the shift, and the tide turns, and then you start building energy, inspiration. People come into your life. I meet people all the time. I am not afraid now to walk up to somebody because something I hear them saying, or even I met a guy, he was wearing these logging pants that I wear, and I just went up to him. I was like, "Oh, hey man, I like your pants. Like, I never seen him wearing these pants. He's wearing these pants. He's this old guy. And like, man, we're like best friends now. And he's super cool. And we talk all the time, and like, it's amazing. And now his granddaughter and my daughter are friends. And so these people are out there, and if you make room for them, they'll come into your life. And, you know, the big thing is to keep it simple and to go towards what your intuition is telling you, and it will guide you. And the more, I know it might be hard to connect with your intuition, but it is there. Everyone has one. And if you start to eat healthy and get good sleep and, you know, stop the drugs, you have to get off alcohol and weed and pills and cocaine and whatever drugs you're on. You have to start cleaning up your body. And once you start making that investment, a lot will come your way. Other things that are key, because now, you know, the channel is thriving in the modern age. We're in this modern time. What we experience and what we're bombarded with is unlike any other generation throughout the history of humanity has experienced. The technological control of humans' minds is this force. And now that AI is coming out, it's so powerful, and it has such an influence on humans' point of view of life that humans are very manipulative. They're easy to manipulate, and they're very gullible. And so we have to heighten our sensibilities, and we have to heighten our awareness of what we're being bombarded with. And so you can do that by learning and understanding about things like, for example, you know, dopamine and dopamine addiction. That's a huge part of modern day society, and that is being affected constantly. And if your dopamine is out of control and it's spiking, it's dropping, it's spiking, it's dropping, that keeps you in a destructive place. And society pushes that on individuals to keep them in that dark, negative, destructive place. And I'll talk more about dopamine, but these are just like broad points to learn about. You know, it all is going to relate back to your mind, your body, and your spirit. And by keeping the concept of, from this great tragedy, you can have an even greater triumph. It is possible to see these experiences that have been given to us as a gift, and we can draw inspiration from those. I have done it. You can do it. So, you know, I'll explain this more in the videos, but that's just kind of an introduction to the concept. And I'll link that book by Thich Nhat Hanh, so take a look and read that. Another few things that I do that really help me, because, you know, the concept of these kind of small steps will build into big wins, and that is very real. So I just do a couple habits throughout my day. One thing that I do is I get up early. I get up between 3 and 5 a.m. And it's really helpful to get up in the morning. You kind of have fresh energy. And what I do is I don't touch any kind of electronic device, nothing. What I do is I take a cold shower, and then I read. And reading and the pursuit of knowledge and information will change your life. So I do that for like an hour in the morning, at least, and then, you know, drink some water. I'll have a cup of coffee, I'll have some juice, and then I'll just kind of start my day. And then once I'm feeling good, then that's when I'll upload a video, or you know, respond to some comments on the YouTube channel, or, you know, kind of look at some news or something. And then it gives me a good charge and the start of the day. So anyway, kind of introduction to the concept, and yeah, it's possible. So you can do it. And thanks for watching. I appreciate you taking